the Black Exporter Guide, where we put a lot and pulled a lot of resources, and that act as a little bit of a roadmap for exporters when they don't know where to start, they don't know who to talk to, they see. Sorry, I'm just gonna remove that. They hear about inspiring stories of exporters looking like us, going in those markets. And again, those markets could be as varied and as wide as possible as the world is. Um, Obviously, and we need to understand that yes, the US is still very prevalent in our trade ecosystem. And we know that at least 80% of Canadian companies are going to the US, including Black entrepreneurs. That being said, I think that this time, and I'm plugging it here a little bit, kind of, shamelessly, but it's time to diversify our markets. It's time to look at where we are maybe not, sometimes we're actually more familiar with other markets than the US. And we follow the trend of just going to the US because it's an easy market. It's just south of the border. We understand the regulations, but it's the right time and the right opportunities for us to look at what else is happening in the world and where else we can actually grow our wealth creation, but also our collaborative efforts with other nations that exist. Because again, I think that we have a lot of assets that we can use um, to build a new kind of business ecosystem and economic foundation for all, including for the Black community. I'm just gonna stop here. I'm gonna share a little bit of my screen, and if you do have questions, I don't know how you do run that, Melissa. Is it more interactive or?
You know what? Like each facilitator, they kind of do it differently. So feel free to share a screen and walk through. And you know what? We can hold questions to the end. But if anybody has anything burning, please do go off mute.
Exactly, please. Yes. If anyone wants to ask a question, or wants to interject or even make a recommendation, suggestions, or even want to share something with us, feel free to do so. I'm just going to share. Yeah, I heard something.
Yeah, just give you a heads up. So I don't know.
Okay, perfect.
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah, I can move it for you. So you want to do it this Friday, or did you want to do it like back when you're on campus next week?
Oh, please, someone's speaking.
I
Okay.
muted them.
Oh, you muted? Okay, good. Because I was like, no, I don't think it's for me.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm going to share my screen. Let me know when you see my screen. Is it in full screen mode?
We can see like the tabs, but we can see it clearly.
Okay, you can see it clearly. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So, before going into the US, and here we have a lot of resources, and I will send you to the link, and I think that I sent already to the link to Melissa. This is where we're actually starting to put a lot of information into as we're moving forward, slowly with obviously the announcements. And we know that the tariffs are coming in right now because the hold is it's over. So anyways, just gonna go very quickly over one of the resource document that we just created. As I mentioned, the Black Exporter Guide. You have a lot of information in here. I'm just going to show you the table of content here. So we do have some data and statistics about why exporters do better, getting to know your market, what you need to do, where you need to go, what you need to understand, where we've included lots of hyperlinks as well in there for you to go and understand where you need to kind of get that knowledge from. Um, an important piece, and I hope that it's probably something that you've discussed here, but incorporation, business incorporation. I don't know if it's something that you've discussed because it's very important when you're considering exporting that you do have a incorporated business. And I understand that sometimes the different structures could be very different, but again, something that I advise to do. We know that from the Black community, and again, I understand, I hear where, it's mostly Black women, which is not just, we're not talking about just a particularly specific group of people, but we understand the intersectionality. And we did last year a survey and collected data for Black women from the Settlerless Women Leaders and other groups that I participated in that survey. And we saw that only 30% of women were of businesses were incorporated, and that was actually a major hindrance to their growth and to their access to resources to export. We're also mentioning and talking about supplier diversity. Are you certified? There are many supply diversity certification councils that are accessible to you, especially as women and Black. You basically could benefit from all of them, but you can pick and choose one. You don't need to have everything, just one. That gives you access to supplier diversity streams for procurement opportunities, and including in the States. Even though we understand that D&I is facing a lot of backlash, and some of those organizations are rolling back their efforts, but a lot of them still, and I was reading yesterday, Apple was doubling down on this. A lot of them still are working with diverse suppliers that you are. So if you get a certification, that will give you access to it. Finding the right financing is very important. This is what also is the core business of EDC. We do work with businesses to find the right trade finance tools that they need to succeed in those markets. And I can tell you a little bit more, but again, a lot of that information is in here. I think we're really trying to level the playing field. So when you're going through all of that documentation and information, you realize that if you need to have more deeper conversations and more detailed information about your needs, your specific needs, then we're kind of a little bit leveling the playing field here, so we can move forward into what really you need at what time and how we can meet you in your growth journey. There are some stories mitigating the risk. Again, we know, and data shows that we're not protecting ourselves enough when we're going into international markets. We have at EDC, for instance, but not just EDC, other organizations carry that solution as well, which is the credit insurance. So we cover 90% of your risk of non-payment for a specific contracts when you're going to international market. I can talk about specificities, but maybe another time. And please tell me if I'm going too fast, because I feel I'm really going fast. But I really want to cover as much as possible for you today. And then obviously there are also network tools and opportunities through the Trade Commissioner Service, but really other organizations that are working in trade, that could be regional, that could be provincial, and they have international offices and representations in different markets. They do have a lot in the US. There's a high concentration of those representation offices. They do run different initiatives and programs. Take advantage of that. Check it out. Check on their on the website of the TCA. Check on the website of all of these organizations. And we did put a lot of information in here for you to start looking. But we're happy to make introductions, and that's also what I do. I facilitate connections with the right folks that can help you getting the boot on the ground in your market. So really, this is a more of a integrated ecosystem for trade for exporters, and this is what really wanted to bring to you today. And again, notwithstanding the US, but really looking at all of the different markets that are available to us as Canadian exporters. So you can go through all of it. There also a quiz here that I sometimes, depending on where you are at in your journey, but I advise you to go through that quiz. Where is it? Here. Are you a future exporter? There's no one size fits all for being an exporter. there are essential steps that you need to take at some point in your journey, but you could be born global, meaning that you could have a business that is where your primary market is already international. And obviously, if you're into technology, this is definitely a space where you can have access to other markets way easier than when you're just manufacturing a product. And I'm saying just, but no, than when you're manufacturing a product and you're shipping it across border. So you need to ask yourself some questions. And sometimes I ask folks to do a little bit of a homework to really understand where they are at, what they want to do, what are the customer base that you're trying to target, what are the regulatory and the different threats maybe. So when we're talking about threats or obstacles that they need to overcome, how they need to adjust, how they need to adapt, and what can they take as the different steps in order to get access to that market. I heard something. I don't know if it was a question, but
No, I don't think
no.
I don't think I heard anything.
Okay, perfect. So there are a lot of different questions. There are different stories. I've been working with businesses all my life, close to 2 decades now. I've had my business as well. I had to go through different steps. I had to do, and sometimes even push myself to do some things that I knew about, but I didn't want to do it. I had to manage liquidities or cash flow in a different manner, especially because my business was always international. So it was always about getting ahead of the next milestone where I knew that I would face some, different obstacles just because, I was scaling, just because the market was a little bit different, just because I had to adjust a little bit more, or because I had to register some IP, etc. So there were a lot of different considerations that I had to make in order to continue growing. So I think, there are all of this, and depending on the industry, you have all of those organizations, industry-led associations that are here available to you. When we're talking about network, you got to be in all those spaces and talking to all those people. It's not about creating the next innovation of the world. It's about knowing the right person. If you want, I can. So I'll leave that to you. And anyways, Melissa, I'll send it again to you, the guide, and I
Perfect.
advise everyone to go through the guide and to get back to us with also feedback, because this is the first iteration of this guide. It's really the first time we're kind of launching a resource like this that never existed for us in the past. So really, if you have any feedback for us, I will definitely take it. But hopefully that's going to bring a lot of more of understanding of what exists, but how Canada is working to help businesses. Jumping onto the US. So we have created, do you see my next page on US?
Yeah, the one that says US tariffs on hold.
On hold, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're still on hold, but it's coming to an end. So how do we how do we get access to this? So I'm just gonna go through here. Sorry, it was that article, so you can read the article, but here, this is what I wanted. Okay, we have a US market intelligence page with lots of resources, with sometimes stories, with also like solutions. So what do we do? Like how businesses are navigating this tariffs change. So basically, if you understand practically, your tariffs will be, and that has started even 20 days ago, because you need to understand that even though the tariffs of 25% were not implemented yet, they have removed the exemption for the $800 minimum rule they had. So we had a mini rule between, for the NAFTA countries, so Canada, Mexico, and the US, where we had said that we would let, and that also for e-commerce. So most of the shipments that are sent to, or, uh, Canadian, US, whatever customers are exempted of tariffs if they are below 800,000, $800, 800 US dollar. And they removed that exemption, meaning that if you were selling a product, let's say, you have customers in the US, and you have products where, basically their average basket, value would be $500. Okay, $500. And you're shipping that over. So that's great for you. But then because they removed that exemption, so basically depending on the product and on the code of your product, you would be taxed up to 30%. So then you would need to, incorporate those tariffs. So, and again, we know that typically the price raise is passed on to the customers. So you would send and ship it for the value of 500, but your end customer would pay maybe 580, maybe 600, maybe $650. So when you have that and you're not sure how your customers are reacting to this, how they're going to be able to pay, you want to protect yourself, and you want to make sure that at least your customers are paying you, and that your money is trickling back into your bank account. So there's the credit insurance again that you could use. You could use hedging instruments, so currency hedging instruments that are there to fix the rate of the currency at that time, because we know the Canadian dollar is fluctuating uh, aggressively. And so you want to make sure that at least you would have, if today you're selling um, at this rate currency, you want to know that this is what you're gonna get tomorrow. Um, Obviously you could decide that you could fix your rate later depending on what you're selling. Again, if you're selling services, if you're selling products that are a little bit more less fast consumer based, but more like long-term project based or different things, uh you could think of different ways to set up your contracts and also your invoicing. But all of those things are or things that you need to think about, especially if you're dealing with the US. Are you trying to acquire a new company over there? Then you need access to different types of liquidity. You need to make sure that the money that you're sending over is safe and secure somewhere. So there are different ways and different instruments where you could have a bank account that's linked to a Canadian bank account, but in the US, or you could do business with a US bank as well. That would kind of fix fix the cost of the basically the volumes of dollars that you're getting in, and how it's coming in and out of that bank account is also something that you need to think about. What else? Obviously, if you need access to more liquidities and capital, and you are based in Canada, you would go to a bank. And typically, the banks, they don't like to provide lending products based on foreign account receivables. So this is where EDC would come in with either letter of credits or letter of guarantees, where we're sharing the risks of non-payment for the bank and for you, at a certain level. So again, it's making access to capital a little bit easier. Obviously, we are following the guidelines and the requirements of the banks, but we have also other instruments that we could use to help you out. So there are lots of different things. What's happening in the US is maybe unexpected, but all of the solutions that we carry, the way that you're approaching the market. Some businesses, for instance, today they've decided to delay their expansions in the US because of the situation. And they're saying, you know what, we might be expanding in Canada and then looking at other markets. There are plenty of other markets in the world. There are plenty of other um, customers and consumers in the world. So let's look at what the opportunities are. Um, so we have a lot of articles, reports, webinars here on our website. We call it myedc.ca. It's a library of tools, information, market intelligence that you can use. You can even ask a question to an export advisor on our Export Help Hub. So I would send all of those information and links to Melissa, and you can, start going through and exploring our libraries and platforms together. But I'm here to answer your questions, and I will also provide my information to Melissa if you do have some questions. And the last one that I wanted to say is that we do have partnerships with organizations that can help you build an export plan and also understand how to structure a business when it's exporting, and what are the considerations uh, that need to be taken into account when you're crafting your strategy for your different markets. So there are lots of things, working with the Forum for International Trade, the Trade Accelerator Program, etc. There are lots of resources in the market. You're not alone. I'm done here. I'll take any questions if you have some.
Are there any questions? Because I have one.
Go ahead.
Okay. And I know you don't have a lot of time with us. You probably have to hop soon to your next meeting. So I'll just ask for a case study that you've seen of a company, black or white, or led by anybody, who has successfully exported into the US and now is has developed a strategy to expand into other international markets.
Mm-hmm. So, and we've seen that many times. So typically when they have already exported to the US, they have a network of, their supply chains are pretty solid. So they're looking at, what do we have that we could use and leverage to go into other markets. There are multiple steps there about the supply chains, the logistics, especially if we're talking about products, right? We're really talking about products. And also establishing the links with all of the industry in the new country. So what they'll do is that they're capitalize on their success in these states to go in other markets and sell their branding, because in other markets they will need to reestablish or build their brand reputation, and that will actually be the most challenging thing to do, especially when you're looking at different market. I'll just give you I use this example from time to time, but it's and was non-black. It was a white-owned company selling tomato sauce. So selling to the U.S., perfect, working well. And they're like, and I would like to maybe go to Asia or trying to maybe in China. So they started going on trade missions. They built an export plan. They're like, okay, we'll do this, we'll do that. We'll change the labeling. We have great freight forwarders and who can help us, and our supply chain can definitely supply our products in Asia, particularly China. So we'll try to go there, but folks didn't know them there. Their branding was like, who are you? So what are you selling? Okay, how much you selling it, and what are you selling? So tomato sauce, you would think, oh, that's the most basic thing. They were selling their tomato sauce with fine herbs, right? And it was not selling. It was not selling. They're like, oh my gosh, it's a flop. We filled it. And someone told them one day, but we don't eat fine herbs here. We eat garlic. It was that simple. It was changing to garlic. So did it change the flavor to garlic? Then it sold. Then it was better. Then people were saying, and even other, grocery stores were like, oh, people told us that it's nice, that, what could you do with that? So there's a lot of marketing that got involved in it. It's more marketing than and less. I mean, logistics is because they had already the right stable network, but it was a lot of marketing. It took them a lot to understand the market, to understand where they could go, how and what the channels could be for them to succeed in that market. So there's a lot of learnings, even when you're established business. There are a lot of learnings when you're pivoting, going to other markets. US is easy because they're like basically consuming the same way we do. So.
Thank you. That was really interesting. Do you have time for one more, Latoya?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, let's go.
Go ahead,
Question.
Latoya.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hi, Miriam. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you.
Good, good. Yeah. So, I heard something in your presentation about currency hedging insurance. Is that
Instruments.
something that the EDC provides, or is it a corporate insurance provider that I have to go
EDC
through?
provides it. EDC provides it. So, we call it our instrument the FXG, but basically it fixes the rate of the currency at the time that you're signing your contract. So when you're signing, and I mean, when you want something like this, you should come and see us before you signed your contract, because it would be attached to the contract. All right. So
Okay.
everyone would know.
Okay.
And without it, because I know we love practical examples. Without it, there are companies that have lost a lot of money when they didn't do it, because with the currency fluctuation, they just lost. It was a high Canadian dollar, and they were very confident that they would be successful in this, and they would win, and get a lot of profits, and we dropped. We dropped, and then they realized, oh my god. So depending on what you're selling, depending on the volumes, those folks, for instance, that are losing a lot of money, they're selling in high volumes. Do you think that it would be, because you're paying for that instrument? Everything I'm talking about, the solutions, you pay for that, right? You pay for the instrument, and then you pay premiums. So is it something, when you look at it, that's that is making sense for your business? Or are you thinking, since you're starting slowly, you could go with it, and because the Canadian dollar is so low that it could only go up, so you would win if you don't fix the rate? You need to think about those things.
Okay. So you kind of have to think of the right time before.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But depends on, if it's a adult contract, or if it's multi-year contract, or it really depends on the situations, right? Really depends.
Right. Okay, I see. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Great question, Latoya. Like, I wasn't even aware of that insurance product. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I believe you
Thanks,
have another
Melissa.
meeting now that you
I do
might
have
have
another meeting, so I'm gonna go. But it was it was a pleasure to be with you. It was I would love to hear and see more of you. And Melissa, please keep me posted.
Oh,
If you
absolutely.
need, or if you need me to come back, and maybe we could go through some of the businesses that are here, and what do they need, and how, and again, happy to. I know the examples are speaking louder.
Yeah.
So, happy to come back as well to give, more like examples of, how we've supported, or what we've seen in the market. Again, could be very non-community agnostic, like very much,
For sure.
But
Stephanie and I definitely have some ideas. So you will be definitely involved in the near future. Everybody stay on the line, because we're going to have a little bit of a discussion Q&A. I'm going to be facilitating that. But Miriam, that was a lot of really great information packed into 30 minutes. Thank you so much. So appreciate you hopping on, and it was so nice to see you on this Saturday.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. It was lovely to see you too. And you know where to find me. So thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful day, and hopefully I'll see you soon.
Thank you.